territory, folks. Because I'm recording this audio on the night of Wednesday, June 25th, and by the time it will be public on YouTube, maybe the story has changed. Maybe this player is already gone. Maybe he doesn't even get traded to any of the teams that we're talking about in this video. Because the smoke screens that we are seeing heading into the 2025 trade rumors around the National Hockey League that revolve around a very particular player in Calgary. Take a look at this article that was written on RG.org earlier yesterday. Sources say the Columbus Blue Jackets, Ottawa Senators, and Montreal Canadiens are among teams eyeing Calgary Flames man Rasmus Anderson. This article is available, so maybe the information is outdated by the time this video is public on YouTube. But let's just blitz right first quickly to see the scoop that is being presented. As other NHL insiders have reported in the last 48 hours, RG has confirmed that the Calgary Flames are now taking calls on D-man Rasmus Anderson. I know Craig Stone is lighting up right now, an NHL source said. A Flames GM Craig Conley is receiving in Anderson. By all accounts, the Flames and Anderson may be headed for a mutual parting of the ways, as Sportsnet's Elliot Friedman first reported last Friday in his 32 Thoughts column. On Rasmus Anderson, the feeling across the league is that the talented DWP at $4.5 million. According to the source above, talks started to pick up over the weekend, and even more so on Monday. The Flames are definitely listening and exploring their options, the source said. I'm hearing the Blue Jackets, Red Wings, Habs, and Bruins have all looked into Anderson. Another NHL source told RG that the Ottawa Senators are also in there too, trying to get this guy. Oh boy, man, this is where we really have to start stretching it out. We have so many teams interested in this guy, man. Neither source knew for sure what the Rasmus Anderson camp is asking for in a new contract. But with the NHL salary cap expected to rise and plenty of teams needing a top 4 right shot D-man, there will be teams willing to meet his salary demands. Out of the teams listed above, the Blue Jackets have the most cap space to spend. According to Wikipedia, the Blue Jackets currently have $4.4 million in projected cap space. The Bruins are at $23 million, the Red Wings at $21.3, the Sens at $10.7, and the Habs at $6.1. Let's dive into some of the comments made by the sources at the Nico sites. The Columbus Blue Jackets make a ton of sense, the first source said. They have all that space. They have 2 first-round picks this year, prospects, and some of them are NHL ready. The Bruins, I can see that too, after they lost Carlo on the right side. But are they trying to get younger? That would be a heck of a top 4 for them with a healthy Dennis Lindholm and Charlie McAvoy alongside Anderson. As for the Montreal Canadiens, we know they have Jack Collateral and some blue-chip prospects, but they will need to move NHL roster players to take the cap hit. That is, unless they just decide to go to the LTIR with Carey Price again, but that is another song and dance that we have been hearing about for quite a while now. Do the Habs want to extend into LTIR territory and put themselves at risk at getting another overage penalty for next season, assuming either Demidov takes his bonuses? I think it's probably likely that a guy like Demidov can accomplish whatever bonuses are in his contract, from rookie of the year to getting a certain amount of points. But will the Habs be able to take that next year, dollar-wise? Who knows? I also want to talk about the Detroit Red Wings, because with all the talk about Noah Dobson in Detroit bubbling around there, how he could potentially be going to Detroit, most likely out of all the other NHL teams that could be buying for its services, I will say Rasmus Anderson is maybe not as good as Noah Dobson, but he's a very, very good, capable guy either way. Rasmus Anderson is in that prime age range. He is 28 years old, and the fact that he went out this season and produced a very decent, not amazing, but decent 31 points in 81 games played. This was a guy who was hurt for most of the year. He wouldn't tell it because he played 81 games, but he was not necessarily himself. And it has been much better than that, too. Rasmus Anderson in a world where right-handed defensemen are valued like unicorns, could very well be on the cusp of receiving, let's say, a $6.5 or a $7 million AAV deal. And honestly, if you take a look at the usage this season, there were some games throughout the course of the 24-25 campaign where he was at 25, 26 minutes a night. This guy was overplayed and overworked, and he still was able to muster through and find a full season's worth of play, despite not being at his best. You talk about Noah Dobson, you think of Rasmus Anderson as a secondary option. This is a totally appropriate, more than fine, quote-unquote, secondary option. And I think fans of the Red Wings or Canadians or the Blue Jackets, Ottawa Senators, whatever, they're all going to see tremendous value out of this guy once he gets moved, and if he gets moved to any of these teams over here. It's just a question as to whether or not it's actually possible. What assets will Calgary be looking for? It doesn't seem like they're in a spot to maybe want to break in or sell. We only know of one team that is interested in selling, and that is the Pittsburgh Penguins. Every other team is like, okay, now we're going out there and competing. That's our goal. We want to compete. Okay, but is that really a feasible way to assess your hockey team? That is an entirely other question for the masses. But ultimately, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the idea of the Montreal Canadiens or Detroit Red Wings? Yes, this is a party. So we're brushing it. Too soon? I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but I wanted to get this video commentary out there because with the Edmonton Oilers' defeat in Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals, thus losing the Stanley Cup Finals for the second year in a row, it allows Vancouver Canucks fans to open the door to the possibilities. Because while it's true that the Vancouver Canucks are not really seen as a top-tier contending team in 2025 heading into the 2026 season, back into the 2024 season, they were pretty hot. They were the top team in the Pacific. They had an emotional series against the Oilers. And now, 1 year later, we have the opportunity to analyze what that team really was. And ask whether or not if they were actually better than we thought they were. Before we take a trip down memory lane and reminisce on one of the best Canucks seasons we've seen in a long time, we have to get into a few words first. Listen, ask questions, and help you see things from new perspectives. Going to therapy is a sign of strength, not weakness. And a therapist can give you advice and techniques to help make positive changes in your life. BetterHelp is the paid partner of this video, and they're on a mission to make starting therapy easier. Fill out a questionnaire, and you will match with a therapist as soon as possible. Easily switch therapists anytime at no extra cost if it's not the right fit. With over 7,000 reviews and a 4.3 rating on Trustpilot, BetterHelp is a platform you can trust. Click the link in the description or go to betterhelp.com/Lego and get 10% off your first month of therapy. That's betterhelp.com/Lego for 10% off your first month. Get started with BetterHelp. So, you might be wondering, where is all of this coming from? Why are we bringing up the Vancouver Canucks? What does this have to do with the Oilers? And I think a lot of these narratives have been talked about before, but when they're written out and spelled out in this way, it becomes a lot more really kind of like sad for Canucks fans to acknowledge the greatness that was the 23-24 team. Let's dive into what we posted by Big Head Hockey a few days after the Stanley Cup Finals had concluded. Here is every series the Chris Knobloch Edmonton Oilers have faced elimination in. The 2025 Stanley Cup Finals versus Florida, The 2024 Stanley Cup Finals versus Florida, and the 2024 second round versus Vancouver. We were one goal away from our Canucks Cup Finals, eh? And I love Big Ten hockey because they always seem to have some sort of a Vancouver, I don't want to say like bias, but there are a number of tweets I feel that they post that are more related to Vancouver than not. And they just happen to do this one too, saying that, hey, the non-block Oilers only faced elimination in 3 series so far in their quest for the Cup in 2 years in a row. The only one that was Florida will be against Vancouver. The reply goes out there and says this: Brock Besser had blood clots in Game 7 against Edmonton. Thatcher Demko missed the entire playoffs, and Elias Pettersson had knee tendonitis. How good was that Vancouver team? And with that in mind, it really gets the gears turning internally. I'm starting to think, yeah, the Vancouver Canucks in 23-24 were a really good team. And just everything was clicking. We talked about the PDO bender. We talked about how everybody was getting lucky, quote unquote, with the amount of goals that were going in off of the quality of shots that they had. But ultimately, the Vancouver Canucks were an example of a team that was so overachieving compared to, well, the analytics said they should have been able to achieve. And I think it provided some of the most entertaining hockey this city has ever seen. The crazy comeback in Game 1 against Edmonton, Dakota Joshua, Connor Garland. The Canucks had a 3-2 lead in the series, and then they lost. They were one goal away. Searching for homes on Crystal feels a lot like when your playlist shuffles to the perfect song. Playing that feeling with every listen. Playing your home in Crystal. One evening away from facing off against the Dallas Stars in the third round. And before we continue beyond that, I'll say right here that it is true that the Vancouver Canucks were a game away, a goal away, a series win away from potentially achieving greatness, but I will also be very clear and acknowledge that, yeah, even though the Canucks lost Game 7 3-2 at home, they totally did not deserve to win it. Like, if you see a 3-2 game in the other time, it's really close. They had a chance. They probably could have won. No, bigger. If you had watched that game 3-2, they were down for most of it, and they were getting just totally outplayed. The Oilers had the majority of the control. Arthur Shilovs was letting in those long shots, and the Canucks, they tried to pull their magic, and they tried to muster up a late-game comeback one more time. The funny part is they almost did it. Connor Garland and Phil Hronek getting goals in the last few minutes of the third period, and the Canucks just totally putting the pressure on towards the end of that frame. But that's the problem, though. The Canucks didn't really do much in the first and second periods of that game number 7. And in a way, you can debate that the way the Oilers choked away their series against Florida this year was kind of the same way that Vancouver choked away their series against the Oilers last year. The Canucks with some very brilliant comeback wins and last-second wins as well, ending up taking a 3-2 lead, but then getting totally stomped in Game 6 against Edmonton, and then just not really having much of a chance in Game 7. And the shoulda coulda woulda game was tough, because it is true, Thatcher Demko was not healthy. He did not play at all. Brock Besser, not healthy. He blocked the shot in, I believe it was Game 6, Game 5, Game 6, something like that. Am I back home? Something like that, I forgot. And then on the plane, he ended up getting those blood clots, and that was not good for his eligibility in Game number 7. Elias Pettersson was already affected with his yips and tendonitis pretty much since the February mark of that year, so Pettersson was totally not as much of a factor as he should have been. JT Miller, Connor Garland, Dakota Joshua, Quinn Hughes, and especially Elias Lindholm, these guys were all very productive players for the Canucks in that playoff run. But that's just kind of the magic about it, I'm thinking about Edmonton and how the goaltending was inconsistent throughout both of their Stanley Cup final runs. Stuart Skinner would get shutout after shutout, but then in other series he would get lit up. I think out of all the series the Ottawa Oilers have had, from last year to this year, third, to make things interesting, they only have 17 shots in that game. So Vancouver, they're already starting to exhibit the signs of the inefficiencies that brings off in hockey the best different. They made it interesting, they almost got it back, but they weren't able to, and then those problems persisted throughout the course of the next season, which was even worse with the Yankees management Casey Miller. Everything seemed to have gone wrong for them after that. And it's so interesting because you think about how close they were to getting done, despite all the setbacks, despite that credential not being there, despite Brock Besser not being there, despite Elias Pettersson at fourth not being there. And for Dallas, I mean, they had themselves a pretty tough spot where Peter DeBoer getting eliminated in the third round every year, it seems like. Would they have succumbed to the same fate against Vancouver in 2024? What if the Canucks were able to just wait it out a little bit more, and then they brought Brock back? I know there were already rumors floating around from last year that, oh, the Canucks made the third round, Thatcher Demko has been available to play. Yeah, I have no reason to believe that would have actually been possible. Just considering the fact that Denver didn't even suit up for the Canucks at the start of the next season. They had to go with Lehkonen and Sheelogs. Sheelogs was great, Lehkonen stole the show, and never does anything against Demko back. He was supposed to be back for the third round, last playoff run. It just didn't work out like that. And now, 1 year later, I think after the Oilers get eliminated in their second straight season of the final, I think it's way too late to give up for the Canucks fans to really start reminiscing on the season in between that was in 2024. But I digress. I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How good were the Vancouver Canucks really? And how bad they think the field is going to be? With a free agent trade, you have to have an understanding of where your organization is at. I don't think they're going to but it's definitely not going to that at the same time to the block trade. We're wrapping up some stuff, making our way on it to the point academy already. Just to give an idea, we in the previous practice went around and tested some stuff. But as we did some surface area won't be too bad. But up here, I'm still going to save the earth tree and all that stuff, but a little bit of advantage there. Just a little too many to sell this one stuff. But we have started from the scene boundaries. Make sure it's nighttime, and then we're going to head on out. And we're going to better down to a good spot almost immediately and on top of this here. Do that, let's do that for a minute. Do that, let's do that. That's right by this thing, right by these things. That's the noise I was looking for. This one I've noticed this 2 different times. This is basically a minor difference. I just saw this one's aren't fully developed. If I didn't know it, this episode of the spot the other ones are not really. It's just not a scratch or a stick. The other ones do styles and shit. That is death. Death light. If that builds up, you die. It doesn't matter what your offense is, you'll still die. There are very few enemies in the game that have it, but it's definitely something to be cautious of. There's the critical on it. Oh, you're not dead? I literally sat down the controller. Alright, so down. Go on and pick up all these goodies. And always use more than fragments. The thing that got from it, the red feathered branch sword, it's not very good. It's just a small attack power boost and health is low, so very situational. But I'm not really sure at the game count. I got some more stuff to do.
going to have to lose another bird, but we're going to make it take time quickly while we run over to another race. Also, we'll make exploring this area and seeing everything a little bit easier. I might as well level up. But I had a couple people getting like, hey, why haven't you leveled up yet? Like, y'all, do not wait for me to level up. Okay? When you have enough rooms to get a level, go on and get that level. Right now, just to let's do a quick recap on levels. So we have been at our Texas strength threshold for our weapon. Bigger, we want that to 40. That's the priority. Because 40 is going to be the first soft act for bigger. There are two real breakpoints for bigger. Going up to 40 is very potent, and going up to 60 is also potent. After 60, it starts to triple on it. So we want to get bigger up to 40. After we get this to 40, my next priority would be enough endurance to be comfortable. If you're comfortable at 20, then you just want to start pumping whatever your main stat is. So if you're faster, intelligence, or faith, your dex, strength. You know, all people like us will point these up together. If you're faster, you might want to put a couple extra points into mind as you level, but the biggest thing is getting our bigger one. So from Academy Cape Town, we're doing a great moment, and then we're actually heading up here to get another race. Now back in when we did our initial loop, we did have seen Oslo around here already being a sackler, but it should still be here. That's just a good revisit for those that missed the first time. Sling sad man. We don't have to talk to him because we talked to him before, so it may have been that he's done already. But yeah, you might encounter him out here when you run past. That's the dude that his servant got attacked and murdered and swore revenge and all that. He's right around him. But if you've been following the guy from the beginning for a long time ago, I mean, we don't need to talk to him. His dialogue is going to race regardless. And then I just head on out this way. This week is the perfect northwest heading. And then being spotted in the fog. Should be a breeze around there somewhere. That's right after this. There it is. So just to show the exact spot on the map where it was. There it is. Very good top island. Now this next Deptford, this one's a little bit harder now. I just said that, you know, there's red Deptfords, some baby Deptfords, and we've got babies until now we're not quite a real one. This is the one that I mentioned after the use episode, where I was like, that's why the Deptford around here. It was around, it was this one that I didn't remember. This was going to be very simple. Now this one is going to do a lot of spells, which actually I'm going to just to put myself in as best position as possible when I cast the Rune. Probably thinking of stats that I can split my blade again, something like that on. That wasn't quite close enough. See? Let's get it now. So this is Ghost Flame. Ghost Flame hurts. It can also cause frostbite elements. You want to be very careful with it. A couple of attacks are the same as the normal attacks. A couple of them are a little bit different. The same strategies apply when I focus the head. That's not for us. And there it is. There it is. It's the walk to practice. Yeah, I just don't bring it died on us. Those are the most important stuff. Let's see. We have an active build up. Next to the line. Okay, so he doesn't always consistently. So we'll do it one more time because I'm not going to spend time on the guy. As I mentioned, this is a good powerful temper. Particular drops a spell that's pretty nice. I go on over towards spells. This thing that we picked up, Rainbow Ball, it's an upgraded version of that. So if you are doing a dexterity, an intellect and a hybrid build, you know, it's nice when you use that. But you know, obviously, this is a much more aggressive character than the ones who have problems on it. Watch out for that slam. Let's try it. sort of what she's doing there. So just tell that poker is producing anything. And that's like the other Facebook and slanted causes any exposure and an addiction to that. It also shoots out trail those chasing. So, you know, higher level depth is definitely a little bit tricky to tackle right this moment. That's okay. You know, we don't really have to develop communities here. So, you know, as I've said before, we can't go on St. Marker. We're still on with a little stall there, and now we know there's a depth right here. Similar fashion over here with that little cover that we didn't want to cover the bit from the treasure chest, so we know, hey, it's almost in there. And then we already got it down, so we already got most of it marked down there. Which covers it. Yeah, it's going to be consistent with that. So we'll do it. Yeah, okay. So, whether you put jumping or not doesn't matter. Hop back and over to Gary Town, and then we're going to head over to here. So we're running on over to here, shiny. There's a little bit of shiny ball guys that likes to run around. And there's a couple of loose leaves here and there in the actual kind of the gate area that we're going to pick up, but nothing that's really like, oh yeah, we really need to focus on that. So let's jump this out here. You can see it up there. It's a little bit hard to get a lock on this guy, so you might want to. I had a free throw. I had an arrow out of it. And once you knock it down, I think it's run off the door like normal. That gives us action board charge board, which is unless you play a sphere or something, it's larger than pieces. So right there, and down this way. And remember that we've got this earlier episode, but if you had it, obviously you're going to want to pick up this. After that, it's going to head between these buildings. And you'll notice that this is like the proper area we want to approach. So we're going to pop up and use our boards. Just get in a better position. Now we don't have to hit that guy from the front. That dude over there has that little fire thing that he's ready to use. Get that up. There's that. This way, go these two. Crash shield, we just got dropped. This is a great shield on S50. This is a great shield with S50. This thing is 48. If you were looking for like a best bang for your buck medium shield, it was absolutely this thing. It's really, really solid. This has a little bit here, but it's always been more. After we get up top, it was like one, we just split over this way that we can get before we approach all that stuff. We have to do the rolling and so I guess we might have grabbed it for this again. So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff over there. We're not going to be heading on over that stuff yet. Instead, we're going to approach behind, so go this way. That's the long staircase that we start off. Just trying to think how fast, so we can just come off the back. And go this way instead. This guy is using his crash shield all day. It's just eating it out. I think we're going to be blocking like it. That will fall. That's They are not driven by any of these groups that are on the higher sectors. Now, this is a rather interesting animation. It's kind of hard to see, but there is a little man that is inside of the bank piloting this thing. And you think, like, oh, I killed a man, that thing dies. And it's actually not. It's harder to kill than you expect. Because as you can see, those are some big hits, and despite being so probably we did not kill him. So, there we go. Uh-oh. Critical hour. The right, the left. So like this. Alright. Furious. There was another guy. Actually, let me check this map because in my notes I was like, the dude that's behind there he is. You're the one that almost got away. There we go. Okay, get the Winston, and I think we might have drafted it right here before. Let's just do a quick little because of my notes. I wrote down that there was something here. I have not seen that something here. I actually had it down there. Well, I mean, whatever. If there was something that's like a ring 3, something that's of value. To the left of the entrance gate is the big. It wasn't even a point right down there, but it was. But yeah, we probably grabbed it. There's a body right there. We probably grabbed it in this game here. But anyway, let's go into the academy. Now, of course, we already have this race running all the rest before. Now that we actually have the key, we can go in and get his animal seal. Let's go inside.
The final and the biggest stage in the world was just one second away. Come on, and I see people all over the world. How's it done?
The first thing we're going to do is head on out over here and get another seat. This is the entrance point. Okay. So before we go things we're going to want to do, first level up the camp, level up. That's basically put in a hanging conflict. And that big adding any charges we can. It's been a while since I've done this, so I probably have to do 11 rounds. Okay. So the last allocation, we're now 8 and 3. The next thing we're doing, we want to go over to that adds more. We want to put this top spin. It doesn't matter what shield you have on. I would suggest either a medium shield or a light shield. If that spell in particular, this. And that will allow us to get through this area a whole hell of a lot. So, how about the elevator? If you're a caster or somebody that's playing like bow only, strong range, or whatever, you probably won't need this, but quality, strength, dex, any of my melee game, you're going to want this stuff. There's a lot of cool stuff here to look down at, so take some time, take it all in. I like this legacy weapon a lot. I like this one, this one. So as I do some casting, you see, we can parry some of them, but not all of them, because they're staggered the casts. So the best thing to do here is going to be run up and just try and get one down. Welcome to the starter in this area. It's crazy. After this place,
Right.
Instead by going into the carrying not the big, I want to do that. But we haven't paid those on that yet. So before we try to attack that thing, and want to run past, we get this race. A little bit later on, these other skull carriers again, but instead of just carrying, it also will create little carrying deliveries. So we get some carrying spells that counterattack our opponent afterwards, which is super nice. I technically you can get it right now, but I find it better to clear this place before the manner, just because there's kind of a lot of shit in there. Y'all haven't been at the hands yet. Pansies are, everyone's like, hey, what enemy do you dislike the most? And the only thing is the Pansies. And the hangers filled with Pansies. Do not like them. They're very, no, don't like them at all. So, Sovereign 3 back there. Obviously, the rest of this race, these guys won't aggro you from this race, so I'm probably looking at another than
Not much.
that's just what we need otherwise. Good. Once you're outside, these guys are like man zombies, and they'll do this. If they grab you, mash your bumpers and your drinks. That's a old Dark Souls trick that still works. They will also drain your FP. But to show what I'm talking about, I'm going to let one so let me get the full help here. So, he grabs a little bit. Come on, somebody grab it. Come on, Steve. Somebody grab it. I don't press anything. I'm like, oh, I'm stuck. Oh, I'm okay. You got 2 bites anyway. Anyway, let's see. Here, left half to drive into it, and you want to circle around to the second floor. Second floor. Oh, that's, left half to the drive river, and go down this way. And circle around. Taking that, area of silver actions. Let's go for great family. Let's go for back there. We have guardians up in the field side. No, that comes a little bit down from medicine. Let's see. Let's put Grace set up so I can look for Grace by man zombies completely down left half the reverse circle around. Just put the floor, put the red roll off, after the drop to the left of the tombstone, put the ring behind the ball. Expect the land. So we can get this. So we have the ring behind, and this thing is spectral lands. Very nice dogs. We're going to get our slipping going on the road. We do not come here to miss it. If we did, I'm sorry. Alright, it's a lot to come. So if we don't back for now, that's the path of that's the path we proceed down. But I just put myself for first. Explore, go up here, grab the building. Go over here, go to managers. There'll be another drop down. Carrying 9 armor. So when my spell sword boys, we can now officially be rid of the spell sword and not just stuff like, oh well, start carrying one. Over here for okay. So let's go up to reach up is on this 100% turned over, set down to the back to the door. Then come back to the door. Doing that very stuff, I mentioned, even if that, just looking for I damn well plan on remembering where it was. But since circle around, it should be like, should be like right over this way. And it'll be recorded.
Oh my god.
Ah, there it is. This is why you always gotta trust your things. I wrote this second film on this year, and I was just thinking, don't read that fire. The guy looks that time. I mean, it's fair. The fair was pretty, very scene. Two stones, get all over it. It's like, wait, is that the right time? Let's go inside this place. Oh, no, that's inside. So the water wheel is how we proceed. Before that, though, there's like an alabaster mini board right here. We can fill this guy. It's not very hard. You shouldn't have. I know you're like, oh, purple man, but like, I can see he's basically going. I'll give you gravity well, which is no case though. Let's go to sum of 3. So my main is, at this point, you're using urine staff, so try it out. Personally, I found it to be a bit lackluster, but that is what it is. So I'm going to try this step for you. I'm going to be going that way, but first, we're going to do a little Mario. You should just run up here, and if you're worried about that jump, you don't have to do that jump. You can literally just hop up and run around. I just thought that path was a little more, a little faster. And inside, we can go. So at this point, I should upgrade. Almost there. We are going to walk the bottom out over. So definitely upgrade because we are about to go on a tactical trip. Beautiful. Only 238 rooms on the line. I missed the next one I got talking. I did not think we were going to burn through this fast. So once one passes, go on and jump on. My favorite thing about this. It's so stupid, but I love how I'm scared of it. Like hollow and hill. Over your head down. There's another actually over here. A couple of these, you can get filled, or you can choose not to. That's up to you. Really not particularly hard, but. Freaking have keys on it. It's not. It's like this. Up this junk, or there's well, let me get everything. So we're going to go down to the bottom of this area. At the bottom, you're going to get abducted. It is going to make a difference. Now, you need to at least get through that zone by the grace. But before we do that, there's a couple things we're going to do. Hopefully, just really update things. So going with our inventory, we have, well, we're at a 5 already, so we picked up the 5 from the previous episode. And then we are going to be picking up a 5, a 6, and a 7. And then I'm going to hop over somewhere else, and then grab an 8, 9, and somewhere else we're going to connect. So we're going to immediately upgrade our weapon. Now that's going to be a lot of running around, so we're going to do it for another episode. So you may want to take that and just go back. If you're, basically don't do what I'm about to do just yet. Just take that back up, go rest at the grace, and then when you're ready, you're like, yes, let's go, shall we? Let's get kidnapped. That's when you're going to follow this step. If you don't want to get kidnapped, you're just going to wait for the next episode, basically. Jump across the back. Jump on, jump off. Kind of hesitant about doing this, those guy until they get kidnapped. So now you know that kidnapping is about to happen. You're going to have to do stuff to escape the kidnapped area. But by doing this, you see ass upgrades. So you want to be sneaky for now. And what we need to do is this guy over here, they're called abductor versions, but I just call them Iron Babies because abductor version sounds really weird. That's going to attack you, and you need it to kill you. And not just kill you, but you need it to kidnap you. So we're going to talk about getting it to do that, because sometimes it's a pain and it doesn't want to. So it has a grab attack, and we need that grab attack. Anyone kills us. So we're going to get a little low. I'll discard that right there. That attack. That is the attack. You need to kill you. And this is why I said to use like a ripped in the veins, because I'm not worried about, the 1100 units at least fine. But so ironically enough, you can actually talk to patches. Patches will be like, oh yeah, there's some record down there. And when you go down there, all of a sudden you're like, well, okay. Now, as you can see here, just not that far, but just north of the area. But you need to see through this to get to the grace before you can walk away. However, this is the volcano proper. This is an area that typically you probably hit after the Taylor region. I don't know. Personally, I think I put it kind of on par with Taylor. This Taylor is a wild card difficulty. But we can do some stuff here that are really up pretty nice. And that's exactly what we're going to do in the next episode. So we're going to wrap things up here. The next episode, we're going to be grabbing a couple different things. We're going to be going to the board of plugs building, grabbing some stuff there, and then we'll get some up. So, y'all stay tuned. That's more coming to make sure that thank you all. What is happening, y'all? So on the back to the blog field and episode 20. And we are about to get plus and this episode. What do you think at the heights of greatness that Frank was absolutely absurd during this point in the game? So if you want to come across, this one is not like super deadly like it has been in past games, as you can see. It's slowly thick, but it's nothing too bad. Now, we like anyway for a couple things. We can do something for them. But if you aren't sure, check. Toss this. Alright, right here, we're going to die if we fall. So if we go right over here, we're going to do the same thing. There, I can hear a shatter. That means it's safe. Now, we're still going to take some damage. This is solid knocks. Just to be on the safe side. That's the lava. And then this looks really silly, but backstabbing is actually the fastest way to get through. I wouldn't worry about the slugs at all. It's not what I'm trying to kill these things right now. They can kill them out now, but they're really bad. It's not worth it. They're like,